看到20年间，Usana和19家体育或者是赛事联盟、喜结连理，上千名世界顶级的运动员信赖我们的产品。刚刚结束的奥运赛事当中，我们也是捷报频传，是吗？今天我们非常有幸的呢，是请到了Usana公司运动员关系的幕后主理人，大家看看这位先生是谁哈 ，Jason Nacy。同时呢，我也想请出我们的同事栗子呢将以访谈的形式为大家呢回答一些大家经常有的一些问题。另外呢，我也想提醒大家，一定要在整个采访的过程当中积极的提问，我们会将您的问题传达给 Jason， 然后让你的问题呢得到回答。请大家积极在访谈的进程当中提问，通过 chat 提问。好的，现在我把时间交给我的同事 Liz。
Hi, Jason.
Hi.
It is so fun that we can have you here today. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Well, so I've always thought that your job is one of the coolest ones at Usana. Can you tell everyone a little bit about what you do and what the athlete program is all about?
First off, I have to correct you. It's not one of the coolest. It is the coolest job in the company. No, it's look, everybody has awesome jobs at Usana, but I really do love my job. For a lot of people who don't know me, might not know that I've actually worked for Usana for over 11 years. I started in the studio department, and I was in the studio department for 6 years. And I've been the remaining of the time heading up the athlete and sponsorship group.
That's awesome. So can you tell us about what the athlete
Yes.
sponsorship program is?
Yes, yeah. So really, the reason why we have the athlete and sponsorship group is really so our associates can utilize these athletes and these partnerships to build credibility and trust, because there's no other company out there that has as many elite and Olympic athletes that we do, any other supplement company, right? And that's because of the quality of our products. So when people realize that an athlete, if they fail a drug test, they can lose their medal, right? Everything they've worked their whole life for, they could lose that medal. So it's really important that they know what's going into their body, because they're responsible. And to be honest with you, a lot of the athletes don't take supplements because the supplement industry is not a regulated industry, right? Like there's a lot of stuff in supplements that you buy on the counters in grocery stores or brick and mortar stores, even online, that will say that they can contain X, Y, and Z, but they really don't. And there's been a lot of professional and Olympic athletes, but I think Olympic athletes are a little more careful, right? But there's been several, like NFL guys, pro football guys who have taken certain supplements, protein powders, whatever, and got suspended from the NFL because not suspended indefinitely, but put on a probation, 2-year suspension, whatever it is, and they don't get paid because they fail a drug test. So it's really important for these athletes to know what's going in their body. And since there's no other company like Usana that does what we do, has the guarantees that we have, and also, is NF certified for sports, these athletes are comfortable and they know that what's on the label is in the bottle. They don't have to worry about failing a drug test. And, that's obviously really, really important to them. So I think just that story alone helps build that trust and that credibility, because if these Olympic athletes and professional athletes trust Usana, then all of us who don't have to worry about taking drug tests, we should feel more comfortable and safe about what we're taking.
Definitely. I think it's such a big part of what they do is just knowing what's going in their bodies. And we've seen some stories come out lately, just after the Olympics, of things that may have gone wrong. So yeah, I think that it's cool that they trust Usana with something so important to them. So speaking of all these athletes, how many do we currently sponsor, and what types of sports are they involved in? Can you give us some examples?
So I don't like putting a number on it, right? Because when I first came to Usana, it was like over 300 athletes. And then it was over 600 athletes. And then when I took over the athlete group, it was a little higher than that. And now it's grown to thousands. So I just tell people we have thousands of athletes that trust Usana.
That is impressive. And I know that, the Tokyo Olympics just finished. And honestly, ever since I started working at Usana, I have just been more excited to watch certain athletes compete, because I'm like, hey, we sponsor that person, right? And so, hey, tell us, how many medals did our Usana athletes win this past Olympics?
Well, I think before I came up, I think they showed the graphic that we posted on social media. So we had 100 medals. And the stat that I like to tell people is, I mean, it's cool that if we were a country, we would have taken second, right, in between the US and China. But what I think is even cooler than that is, if we were a country, we would have won more gold medals than any other country. And I mean, that's the gold standard, right? The gold medals are what everybody wants, and we would have had the most.
That's right. Usana is always the gold standard. So I know our leaders have been super excited about our sponsorship with USA Swimming, which
Yes,
they competed in the Olympics among some other teams like USA Skateboarding, whom we just signed with.
Yep.
But USA Swimming is just huge for us. Can you tell us how that came about? How did that sponsorship happen?
Yeah. So a couple cool things. First of all, USA Swimming had never partnered with a supplement company, and they never wanted to, because they didn't trust the industry. It's really scary for a lot of people, right? So they stayed away. I wanted to, when I took over the athlete group, I really wanted to focus on building up more of our Summer Olympic program, because I just felt like it was really winter heavy. And let's be honest, we're a global company, and most of our markets have never seen snow, and they don't get snow. So it's the Winter Games might not be as relatable to them as the Summer Olympics, right? So we really worked hard to build that up. And so my first instinct was to go after USA Swimming, because they're kind of like the US ski and snowboard for the Summer Olympics. And I had a buddy of mine who's an agent that I work with quite a bit. He's actually he's the agent of several of our athletes, and told him what I was trying to do, and he knew somebody over there, so connected me with a guy. And from there, it was really just building the trust with USA Swimming. They came over and they toured the facility, which was hard, because it was during the pandemic. We had a lot of things locked down, but they still wanted to come out, check out the facility. Once they saw the facility, they were like, "That's it." They trusted us 110%, and the rest, as they say, is history.
What a fun story. Thanks for working so hard to get us kind of get our foot in the door with them, right? And then for them to come here and build that trust with Usana. I also heard that you were at their Olympic trials. Is that right?
Yes.
Could you share a story about that? That's got to be a really cool experience.
Yeah, so it was really cool being there as a guest of USA Swimming. We had a handful of athletes that were there, competing. And I would say probably the biggest takeaway for me was watching. It was kind of heartbreaking, if I'm being honest, because every discipline they take the top 2 athletes, so people who place first and second, right? And there were several races where 3rd through 6th might have been 10th of a second or 100th of a second, which is just like, I mean, it's literally, they're touching, I mean, like the blink of an eye, they're touching, and those people missed out on going to the Olympics by that much, something that they worked so hard for, right? But the other thing that I notice is just how dedicated these athletes are to their craft. And that's something that I really like about the athlete program. I like to compare it to associates, right? The associates, you're getting told no all the time. It's hard. There's a lot of ups, downs. You know, everybody feels like quitting, and a lot of people do. But the difference between the associates that make it, right, that have a successful Usana business is the exact same thing that makes an athlete successful and an Olympic champion, right? It's, I mean, every athlete that I talk to, I always ask them, I don't know if anybody's seen the interview series that I do on YouTube, but you know, every athlete I talk to, I ask, did you ever feel like quitting? And they all do. They all do. And a lot of them missed out on weddings. I was just with Matt Grievers, who's over the weekend, because he participated in the convention, the virtual convention. He's a 4-time Olympic gold medalist. He has 6 Olympic medals, over 30 international medals in international competition, right? And he was telling me how he missed out on weddings, bachelor parties, like friends' birthday parties and whatnot, because his focus was being the best swimmer he could be. And he knew that there was just certain things he had to do. Like he had to go to bed early to recover. He had to, you know, travel for competition. He had to spend X amount of hours in the pool. And again, I feel like that's the same thing with our associates. There's a lot of times you feel like giving up and you want to give up, but those who don't are the ones that are successful.
You're so right, Jason. Thank you for sharing that. I think all of our leaders and friends on this call right now, they can totally relate to that type of a mindset. But you know, we all work hard and we push through, and you know, there's always success at the end of that tunnel, right? So I know we have a lot of questions, and we did promise everyone that we would ask some of these, but we are definitely pressed for time right now. So how about for the guys who posted questions, we'll take those down, and then we'll send these questions to you, Jason, and then we can get back to them with your answers, if that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And
Absolutely.
then in the meantime, though, if anyone wants to find additional information about our athletes program, where should they go? Is there a website that they can go to?
Yeah, so you can either follow the Instagram, Usana Athletes on Instagram and Facebook. We also have a website that I believe eventually will become part of the Usana website, but it's usanaathletes.com, and that has cool stories about bios of our athletes, some information about, you know, NSF, how we test the products, things like that. There's a lot of great information on there.
That's awesome. Thanks so much, Jason, for your time. We've had such a great time listening to you share all those stories. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
Until next time, Jason.
Bye.